friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to show you how I make some vegan cream cheese. So let's get started. What I have here are some cashews that I've been soaking in my filtered rainwater overnight. And you can see they're all the cashews are different than other nuts because they really soak up that water, and you can see they get fatter like soaking beans do. And now what I'm going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to blend them up. I'm going to add some more water and make some cashew milk out of this. So if you haven't seen how I make my nut milks or anything like that, well, you're going to see today, or you can go check out some of my other nut milk videos. All I'm going to do is dump this. In this case, I'm not actually rinsing these off or anything. I'm just dumping the water. I had 1 cup of water, 1 cup of cashews in there. Just dumping the whole thing into my blender as is. And now I want to add 2 more cups of water to this. So I'll fill my jar up. Since it's a pint jar, there's 2 cups in a pint. And then if one is choosing to use this as a milk for drinking, you can add vanilla or some medjool dates for flavor and a little bit of sweetener. But since I'm going to be turning some of this into cheese, I don't want to do that. I want to keep it very simple and plain. So all I want to do now is turn my blender on high and let it process for a minute or so until the cashews are broken up as tiny, tiny, tiny as they can be. Okay, so there it is. It's all processed up. And so now the next step is simply to strain it out. So I've got some cheesecloth here. I've got this mesh strainer, which I find highly helpful and important. I used to just use clothespins to pin the cheesecloth to the side of whatever it is I'm pouring my milk and stuff like that in. But now I can just lay the strainer in there and put the cheesecloth over the top. And I've got it double layered. And now I'm just going to pour the cashew water mixture through there. And if it starts getting full like that, you might just have to wait and let it drain a little bit and then pour some more in there. What you'll find when you're working with cashews over almonds or certain other nuts, like coconut and stuff like that, is it's going to take a lot longer for it to strain out, and the consistency of the pulp is going to be very different than with your almonds, pecans, coconut, and hemp, or whatever else. Cashew it's just very unique, but it's also a part of what makes it great for making cheese with. So I'm just going to go ahead and hand strain some of this, kind of squeeze it out to speed up the process. So that I can pour some more of this in here, making sure not to overflow it. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that sit for a while and strain a little bit on its own. You can take a spoon or something and kind of scrape the bottom of it, and that will help speed up the process. But for now, I'm just going to leave it. Okay, if I bring it down here so you can see kind of a close-up of what's going on right here. You can see it's slowly dripping through there. And so I'm just going to let it strain down until there's a lot less left in here. And then I'll squeeze the rest in there by hand like you saw me doing. Now, as soon as the pulp or the milk is strained enough that you can grab a hold of it, you're going to want to go ahead and just start squeezing it out, because you're not going to get a lot out if you just let it set. And I found the best way when I'm doing this is to keep kind of just sort of massaging this a little bit and squeezing it from different angles, being careful not to let the pulp squirt out the top of the fabric this way. Just keep a good tight hold on it here. Now you can you let it sit and drain, but I just found with the cashew, it just, because of the consistency, it just doesn't, it'll sit all day and it will still keep the same moisture in there, it seems, and I'm not that patient. So I'm going to keep working with this. What I like to do is I'll do this for a little bit, work it for a while, then I'll set it and let it strain some more, and then I'll come back and work with it some more. You know, and just kind of keep coming back to it like this. And when I'm all done, I'm gonna go ahead and pour the milk into a jar for consumption. That can be used for drinking, cooking, whatever you want. And then I'll show you what I do with the pulp to make the cheese. Okay, so once you feel like you have the milk strained out of there as much as you want, and I didn't add a lot of water. I could have added more water to equal a whole quart by the time I got done straining it out, but I'd rather keep a richer milk for the cashew. It's actually not my favorite for flavor when it comes to nut milks. Pecan is my new favorite, actually. But this will be good for cooking, making hot cereals or whatever. Now, then what you want to do is take your little ball of nut pulp here, and it's going to depend on how much, how wet you want this and how spreadable you want it. Now, this is fairly new. I'm going to be totally honest here. Now, I just came up with this the other day. I have actually, years ago when I was a vegan, I used to make a sliceable cashew cheese, and I will probably do a video on that down the road, because right now I'm not vegan now, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to go pretty dairy free for a while, because I think I need to let some other things heal up, and I'm finding I tend to feel better on less dairy, but I cannot give up my cheese. I love my cheese. So I'm going to rework my old vegan sliceable cheese recipe, and then eventually I'll make a video on that. Now this I just came up with on the fly the other day when I was making the cashew milk, and so I wanted to share this with you. And again, so I haven't, what I'm saying is I haven't tried it in making cheesecake or anything like that yet. I've only tried it in the form of a spread. So what you have right here is just simply your cashew pulp. And I mean, this is super easy. So now all you got to do, and as it is, it tastes pretty good. It has a very cheese-like flavor, just like this. This is why cashews are used most frequently in making a vegan cheese, because of the natural cheese flavor they tend to have. Now to make it even more cheesy, all you have to do is add some yeast flakes. This is the nutritional yeast. This is the brand I buy. I get it on Amazon through Subscribe and Save, so I can get the best price. It's the best price I have found on nutritional flakes. And again, with the Subscribe and Save, as long as you're getting 5 items or more a month, you save another 15%. So I always keep it, once I open the package up, I keep it in a jar like this. And here's where your ratios are going to depend completely on you. You can look there. I'm going to have at least a good whole cup of cashews. And I would say start with at least a tablespoon of your yeast flakes. I'm going to use a whole quarter cup, but the flavor is going to depend on you, how really cheesy you want it, or what you plan on using it in. Since I like using this as a spread on my nori sheets, which I also get on Subscribe and Save, these are raw and organic, and it's a seaweed, really good for you, and I just kind of roll it up like a burrito, then I want this really cheesy. So I'm going to get to my quarter cup. You can see I don't really care. Throw the whole thing in there. And then of course, the nutritional yeast will also make it thicker. So if your pulp is really wet, this is going to soak up a lot of that extra moisture. And then I also recommend adding a little bit of salt. And again, the amount you add is going to depend on what you plan on using this in. Eventually, at some point, I do want to try using this in making a cheesecake and experiment with that and see how it turns out. And if and when I do, I will do a video on that to show you what I do. So I'm starting off with about a ½ teaspoon of salt in this. You could use a whole teaspoon. And then I recommend, if you're wanting to make this as a spread, or even add like if you're just doing dairy-free and you're not vegan, add a little bit of some pieces of salmon and some other spices and stuff, and you can make a really good seafood dip out of this. But then you wouldn't want to strain as much of the liquid out of the pulp if you're going to do that. So it's just play with it for a while, and as you're straining out the milk, just keep checking the pulp and see how wet it is as you go. Right here is just a really good consistency for spreading. And that's really all you need to have a nice yummy cream cheese type cheese, a nice spreadable cheese for putting on sandwiches, putting on your nori wraps, or whatever it is you plan on using it in. Now, some other options you can do is add some dried rosemary, some dried thyme, black pepper, red pepper, whatever it is that sounds good to you to suit your taste. And then you can make a cheese ball out of it. You can roll it in some almonds, whatever you want to do. And there you just got this wonderful cheese-like dip, and it's totally vegan and as healthy as you want it to be. Okay, so you can just roll it into a ball, and if you decide to add herbs to it and stuff, just keep that in mind when you decide how wet you want to leave your pulp, because the herbs will soak up any extra moisture. Okay, so after you form it into your little ball, you can put it on a plate. This is if you want to make it look nice for serving. You can sprinkle a little seasoned salt and black pepper over it. You can put a couple sprigs of herbs, whatever, just to make it look nice. Or just store it in your glass lock container like I like to do, and then keep it in your fridge and then use it as needed. Add it to whatever you want. And again, down the road, I'll try experimenting and doing some other things with this, trying some other cream cheese related recipes with it and see how it turns out. But I also think this would be a good ricotta cheese replacement as well for making lasagna. And I will be trying that eventually down the road too. So be watching for our upcoming videos on more on vegan cheese and stuff like that. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Very easy recipe, give it a try. Thanks for watching, take care, and God bless.